If you're looking at life insurance options, I'm sure you've got a lot of what ifs going through your mind. I'm here to hopefully put your mind a little bit more at ease and help you figure out some of how these things would be handled in the future and in some of the more edge circumstances that you might run into. My name is Jake Williams, and I'm a life insurance specialist with Step Up Wealth Management. For more information on life insurance or the role that it can play in an overall financial plan that is tailored around you and your goals, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. That way you're notified immediately anytime I upload a video and you never miss one. So I did a video a couple days ago on the classes of beneficiaries, primary and contingent, and what that means. And you really need to understand that one before we can go into the next one. So if you haven't seen that one already, please go back and watch that one first, because it's going to make this one make so much more sense. What we're talking about today is what happens if there are multiple primary beneficiaries and the event that maybe one of those primary beneficiaries passes away or predeceases the insured. And instead of trying to just talk you through it verbally, I've got a graphic because it's going to make everything make so much more sense to do it that way. So let's jump right over. So we're looking at this in the way that I typically see this scenario come into play, and that is with a grandparent, parents, and grandchildren. You've got 3 levels in there. So let's assume that Rob is the grandparent and he is the insured. Rob has listed Joe, Mary, and Amy, his children, equally as the primary beneficiaries. And then each of his grandchildren, Jack and Abby, who are Joe's children, Robbie and Ian, who are Mary's children, and Sue and Jane, who are Amy's children, all equally for the 6 of them as the contingent beneficiaries. It makes sense. You would typically see that if you would think that either he's wanting to pass along wealth to his heirs or wants to make sure that they are compensated for any care that they may be providing later on in his life. So if this is the scenario as is and Rob passes away, then Joe, Mary, and Amy are equally paid out the death benefit. Jack, Abby, Robbie, Ian, Sue, and Jane don't see any of it attributed to them. Now, maybe the parents feel like sharing with their kids, but that is up to each individual parent. As far as the life insurance contract and the life insurance company are concerned, the payout goes to Joe, Mary, Amy, and that's it. Now, I'm sure some of you are already trying to figure out there's a what if and things can go weird. So what happens if one of the primary beneficiaries passes away before the insured? So let's say in this example, something happens to Mary. All right. Now what happens? There are actually 2 scenarios. There are 2 different options here. And Rob is the one that selects what happens. And he does that when he indicates the beneficiaries on his policy. So the 2 choices that Rob has are per capita and per stirpes. Now, Latin gets weird. You don't need to worry about that. I'm going to break it down for you. So per capita, Latin means per head. So he could say that Joe, Mary, and Amy are the beneficiaries and they are split equally per capita, meaning if he passes away, Joe, Mary, and Amy receive equal payouts and nobody after that receives anything. And if he selected the per capita option and Mary had passed away before he did, then Joe and Amy receive equal payouts. They would each receive 50% of the death benefit. Makes sense there, right? Now there's another option there. So if Rob had selected per stirpes, which is Latin for per branch, it can get a little bit more confusing, but once you see how it plays out, you could understand why that might be something that someone would select. So if all 3 of the primary beneficiaries are there and Rob selected the per stirpes option, then those three branches are paid out equally. So Joe, Mary, and Amy all receive equal payouts. But staying with our example, something has happened to Mary. Now, remember I said all three branches are paid out equally. So in this scenario, if Rob selected Per Stirpes and Mary had passed away first, his three branches are paid out equally. So Joe would receive 1/3 of the payment. Amy would receive 1/3 of the payment. And Mary's 1/3 of the payment is split, so 16.5% and 16.5% between Robbie and Ian. So Joe would receive 1/3, or 33 and 3 going on percent of the payout. Amy would receive the same amount as Joe, but then Robbie and Ian would receive half of what Mary's inheritance would have been under that Per Stirpes selection. So you've got per capita, meaning per head, where the named individuals in that primary beneficiary class split the payout evenly among however many are in that class. So if it's Joe, Mary, and Amy, they each get 1/3. If it's just Joe and Amy, they each get half. But then you also have the Per Stirpes option, where it is by each individual branch that you see. So if there are all three, then Joe, Mary, and Amy each receive 1/3, just like if it had been under the per capita option. But if Mary passes away first under the Per Stirpes option, Joe and Amy still get their 1/3, just like they would have with all three of them, but then Robbie and Ian receive what would have gone to Mary under the Per Stirpes option. If you've got questions, if you've got other what ifs on payouts or this or that under a life insurance policy, go ahead and drop me a comment down below. Let me know what kind of questions you guys have, and it might be something that I can turn into future videos. If you liked this video, if you thought it was good information or it helped you understand what is going on with your policy or one that you are connected to, give me a thumbs up. Lets me know that I'm giving you guys good information, and it lets YouTube know the same thing. But lastly, and most importantly, if you want to set up a life insurance policy for you, for your family, or you need to know what's going on elsewhere, there is a link in the description below where you can apply to become my client. Please go check it out. I give you some information for free. Don't need to sign up for anything. It's just information that maybe that alone is the information that you needed. But if not, afterwards we do some fact finding, and then you and I sit down face to face to figure out how we can take care of you, how we can set up a plan around your goals, your needs, your life. What we're looking for, though, is that you can take care of your now, your future, and beyond. Thanks for watching.